What's going on, people? It's Sean Pierce Johnson here, your friendly neighborhood Sean Pierce Johnson, I suppose I could say, if you are so inclined to that. Oh, it is good to see you all here. How's everybody doing out there? I know we got some of the usual suspects. Of course, we got my ever faithful moderators, Ben Coombs and Aaron Lee of Albus Band in the house tonight. Guys, it is great to see you as always. But we have some of the other usual suspects here as well. Terry's G and G. Hello, my friend. Great to see you tonight. Brian Landreth in the house as well. We got Jay Steen and Dwight Bailey. Guys, it's great to have you. It's great to see you. And the one and only, the Quentin James, the infamous Quentin James in the house tonight, calling us all kids. You're just here to see the calendar. God damn it. Brian Cote in the house. How you doing, my friend? Did I pronounce that right? Oh, it has been quite an interesting last week. I think it's amazing how much has happened in the last week leading up to all this, this week's show, obviously. Since we last saw each other, I had an anniversary. The wife and I have been married now 7 years, and it was good. Got to finally have like a nice little dinner out, which we rarely ever do because we're always just, working on this, that, or the other. So it's just nice to be able to get out by ourselves. Unfortunately, we both had to be up early for that day because we also were going to a baby shower. One of our good friends, they're having a boy, and we had to be there for that, which was very early. And that was a long day. And of course, Sunday was Father's Day, so I went and saw my old man, my pops, my dad. I don't call him Pops on a regular basis either. Thank you all for the congratulations, by the way. That does mean a lot. It is a big feat, and I think my buddy Aaron can attest. Marriage isn't the easiest thing in the world, right? But luckily for us, we do well. It's a real team effort for us. And I think it's because we share a lot of mutual goals. But I'm not going to divulge into this being a marriage advice podcast because that's not why we're here. But my wife did give me something kind of nice that a colonoscopy while it's easier. Fantastic. I did want to share with you guys what the wife got me for our anniversary. I've been getting into collecting the Funko Pops, and she got me in a Snoopy and Woodstock to go with my my Charlie Brown. So you'll be seeing Snoopy, Woodstock, and Charlie Brown make some special guest appearances in the set dressing here in the studio in some upcoming demos. So it was a lot of fun. I had a really great day with that. It's nice to just spend time with her without any sort of preconceived notion of what needs to be going on. And then after that, with Father's Day, going up and seeing my dad, we brought my younger sister, who's 16 years younger than I am, and we just spent 3 days with her, just hanging out here in South Orange County, checking out the beach, checking out the scenery, going a bunch of different places, doing a bunch of different things, and we had a great time. It's good to be able to spend time with her at this point, as she is she's a teenager now. So it's that kind of impressionable time period where, everything is confusing for teenagers. So it's just nice to be able to spend some time with her and kind of talk to her about, what I went through in that time and hopefully steer her in a good direction. And then while she was here, And one of the things that we can talk about right now, we got some new pedals. We got some new stuff to check out that came to us from ENGL out of Germany, of course. Handcrafted in Germany. So basically, ENGL is getting into the pedal game. Of course, we know the amplifiers, the Powerball, the Savage. They do the Ritchie Blackmore signature amplifier. So, they got in touch, and we're going to be demoing some of the pedals. So I figured, why not do a quick little unboxing? I've already taken these out, but we'll act like I didn't. That's what we have to do. First and foremost, this first one is the Full Range Boost. And if you can guess, it's a booster. It's a one-knob booster. Each of the boxes has this little Ziploc baggie. And it is a baggie. It's tiny. And inside you have a nice little message. Kind of looks like it might be a sticker, but it's not. And it's just a little message, pre-printed from the founder of ENGL, Edmund ENGL. We are delighted to welcome you as a new member of the ENGL family. That's very nice of them. The ENGL staff congratulates you to your great choice for this top-notch product that we handcrafted in Germany with excellent workmanship and premium components. So, there you go. Nice little letter there. We got a couple different stickers, a white and a black. So, there's 2 of those for every pedal. And the instruction manuals are very small. They're like business card size. And then they fold open. Very simple, very easily laid out, and then just, the website on the back. So this is the Full Range Boost. Very simple. One knob pedal. God, everything seems so overexposed today on the camera. This wasn't so overexposed last week. I don't know what's going on. But one big old nice chicken head knob, and that's your boost, the Full Range ENGL Custom Pedal Series, which I'm pretty excited about. What is really cool about these pedals is that the power on the back, there's an in, and then there's also a power output so that you can power other pedals off of one. And this is on all of them, as far as I know. So this will be a fairly easy one to take a look at, and I'm excited about hearing it, because one knob boost pedals, you get your one knob boost pedal, and what else are you gonna have? It boosts signal. But we'll put it up against something, and we'll put it through its paces, and we'll see. So the next one is a fuzz, which we've been seeing a lot of recently on the channel. It seems like, as a matter of fact, spoiler alert, Keeley Fuzzbender demo coming this Saturday, people. Really excited about that one. So this is the fuzzy head. It's got a cool, mirrored finish, and it's got some, engraved in circles on the metal. It has kind of a cool reflective quality to it. And it's a fuzz. Volume, gain, low frequency, high frequency. And again, this one also has the power in and the power out on the back of the pedal. I have not played any of these yet. I haven't. So I'm looking forward to checking them out. Maybe we'll plug one in before the show is over. But I want to make sure that we actually get to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about tonight, which you obviously have an idea based on the title of this and the thumbnail. So the last pedal they sent is the Alpha Drive. So this is described by ENGL as being sort of a medium gain overdrive for the classic rock and blues sound. Now this has also got volume gain, low frequency, and high frequency. So we'll probably end up plugging this one in towards the end of the show and checking it out. This is the one that I'm most anxious to try, just because my limited, that's a better word, my limited experience with ENGLs has always left me feeling like the gain channels are a little on the fizzy side, which is a little strange. But I'm looking forward to trying this, and especially since they were kind enough to, volunteer to send these things, I got to do something for them, and I got to do something cool. And the last thing they sent is the Power Tap, which is a power supply which can power quite a lot of pedals. Gotta try to get that out. There we go. So it's a fairly like thin power supply. There we go. The ENGL Power Tap. Powers 18 volt in. So it's powered by a DC 18 volt in. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 volt DC 100 milliamp outputs, one 500 milliamp 9 volt DC output, a 100 milliamp 12 volt DC output, and then one 100 milliamp 18 volt DC output. So altogether, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pedals powered off of this one power supply. And I like that it's lightweight. I like that it's fairly low profile. It's not super bulky. So bonus if you're trying to build a fairly transportable pedal board. I have not played anything like this of this stuff. It all came while my sister was here visiting, and I did not have any time to plug anything in. So eventually we're going to plug this stuff in. Eventually we're going to check it out, and eventually I'm going to tell you whether or not I think the stuff is any good. As far as my first visual impressions, it is still very cool. They all look very nice. They've got a very cool aesthetic to it that is very much in keeping with ENGL as a brand. There's nothing glaring that seems off about it. And it's just cool to see them get their feet wet in pedals. I'll just go ahead and plug this in right now. How about that? Mute. So everything now is just powered by the Dunlop DC brick, which I'm pretty much using for everything on these live shows. All right. So the alpha drive is plugged in, and we'll play around with that for a little bit. Gonna go to the comments and just see what you guys are chatting about. Let's see who else has joined us. Remember, if you haven't let everybody know, please announce your presence. We want to know who you are, where you're from, and if you're joining us, because there's 11 of us watching right now, and we all want to be friends, you know? Oh, Quentin. You're just here to see the calendar. I knew it. And I do appreciate you guys congratulating me on the anniversary. That does mean a lot. Thank you so much. Looks like Jay is going to Sweetwater. I want to go to Sweetwater Gear Fest so bad. So have fun with that, Jay. Anybody else going? I think Ben, Aaron, you guys are going to that, I seem to remember. All right, Aaron's asking what I'm playing through. It's the Nux Cerberus again. I'll go ahead and take off the delay and the. So that's just the reverb on there with the some random IR that I have loaded up there. I don't know what exactly it is. It's basically from the pack that Riley sent me, and I just kept going until I found something. We got Halface in the house. Hello, Halface. How are you, my friend? Thank you for joining us tonight. Means a lot. Aaron, I did see Mood, and I am very pleased to tell you all that Mood will be arriving in my hands on Monday. I have the UPS tracking information for it. Joel emailed me a couple days ago and asked if I'd be able to do it. It's the last thing I'm taking on at the moment before I start to get too overworked, because I kind of wanted to slow down a little bit this summer and do some other stuff. So that's the last one I'm taking on. So I'm excited about it. We'll see how it works into, my whole thing, as it's a very adventurous pedal, and you know me, I'm kind of straight up, but I like to get a little I like to get a little weird from time to time. Charlie S is in the house. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining in tonight. Halface is asking about the wall wart for the power supply. Hold up. All right. Let's see if we can see about getting that wall wart. Here it is. You know, kind of one spot style, which is become pretty common. You know, I don't see anything much dissimilar to that anymore, personally. All right, let's take a little listen to this alpha drive. This is basically all knobs at noon. Sounds kind of nice. It's got a little bit of the dry signal in it. Gonna up the gain. Up the highs, a little bit more lows. Let's go ahead and so this is the distortion from the Cerberus. Take away some lows, keep the highs there, and dial back the gain. All right, that's a lot of gain. That's a lot of gain, but I think this is gonna be fun. It's good to see another reputable amp company getting into the pedal game and trying something just a little bit different. This doesn't feel 100% like an ENGL amp in a box kind of pedal, which might be the right thing for them to do. But I like it so far, and granted, we played very little of it. We're only 19 minutes into this this live show with 15 people watching. Thank you all so much again for staying tuned with this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, there's a lot to cover here in this. I just want to share a link with y'all. If this is your first time watching, please do click the subscribe button. Do turn on some notifications. And also, I've shared the link to my Patreon page. We've just started that up. There will be some preview content coming up, as well as some exclusive stuff. So get in on that if you can. I would love to have you as a supporter. All right. Well, you've heard it. We've all heard it. It seems to be the topic of discussion with everybody these days. And that's the fact that, well, Gibson did something that not a whole lot of people are happy about. And that's understandable. And as a matter of fact, it's not entirely something that I'm pleased with. Which might be a bit of a shock to some of you, because I'm kind of a Gibson guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Gibson family instruments. With Gibson and Epiphone, 4 Les Pauls currently in the arsenal, the Epiphone Casino. I'm kind of a Gibson guy, and I think it's not news that I was on a panel at the Gibson Room during the NAMM show, and I had a great time. I'm currently working with Epiphone on getting some guitars into the studio and doing some demos of it. And Aljon has been a big supporter of mine for years. He's a friend. But obviously, we've seen the recent happenings. We can see from this myriad of different articles and things of that nature that it appears that Gibson is sort of back to its old ways of firing off on all cylinders in the legal department. Now, the reason for this was that this all started was really a video posted by Gibson on their YouTube channel with their new Director of Brand Experience, Mark Agnesi. For those of you that don't know, Mark also used to work for Norm's Rare Guitars here in Southern California. He did their Guitar of the Day video series, and as a player, Mark is a really great player. He has a very good vocabulary of different types of different songs that he plays within the context of those videos, and in and of itself, he's just a good player. And he comes across like a very enthusiastic guy when it comes to guitars. He was always very passionate in his presentation of the instruments. It was very clear that this guy loves guitar. Now, one of the things that I do want to stress as we talk about this video is that today I was starting to see a lot of crap spewed his way that really was, god damn these pop-ups. I really hated this idea of people throwing shit Mark's way, because in and of itself, with this whole thing going on, Mark's kind of just a scapegoat. A lot of people seem to think that, maybe these were his words that he's saying in this video. Personally, I felt like it was something prepared for him that he was supposed to announce. And I'm seeing all these different reasons why, he should have just said, I'm not going to say that. He should have known better, this, that, and the other. He should have done this. He should have done that. Let me tell you a little something about the reality of working in the gear business. The gear business, like any business, it's all corporate America, people. When it comes down to Mark's position, Mark was hired. This position was basically created for Mark. It did not exist prior to his hiring, as far as I know, within the Gibson corporate structure. Gibson created this position for him. He lived in Los Angeles with a wife and I believe 2 kids. This hiring and this position, this opportunity, caused him to uproot his entire family midway through a school year. I don't know how old his kids are, but it's something that you need to consider. Uproot his entire family from Southern California and move to Nashville. The idea that you would say, he should have known better, and he should have said, I'm not going to say that because this is stupid, and I'm going to look stupid, and this, that, and the other, means that you have not taken into account the fact that this man has, one, a family, and knows the fact that he has a family means that he has to do things thinking about them before he does things thinking about himself. I can personally vouch for the fact that I've had certain opportunities that I've taken because they've meant something for my wife. They've meant something for the benefit of people that rely on me. It's meant something in the way of being a good opportunity to provide something for people I care about. Mark is an intelligent guy where he knows that his ass is on the line. And he's not going to give up something that has essentially uprooted his entire family, and then within months you think he's going to say, yeah, no, fuck that, I'm going back to California, screw Gibson, blah, 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 I can't believe they made me do that. That means he's just going to have to uproot his family again and go find the next opportunity. And then not only that, we all in the gear business talk to each other. Every person in the gear business knows almost every person in the gear business. And if they leave one job, they can go find another. But everybody talks to everybody. So that means if someone up and quits a position, they can start garnering a reputation of being unreliable. And when you start that message going around to all the different companies that could possibly give you an opportunity and give you a job so that you can generate income and support your family, and or just live your own life if that's what you choose to do and not have a family, it's going to be very, very hard for you to survive in an industry by just saying fuck it. Saying fuck it does not work, because everybody's just going to end up saying fuck you. You're unreliable, I'm not going to hire you. You can't deliver something on time, I'm not going to hire you. So first and foremost, I want you guys to understand that Mark is just the fall guy here. He's just the guy that was the one on camera saying this. That does not necessarily mean that he was the one who wrote the words that he said in that video. That does not mean that he 100% agrees with everything he said. He has a job to do. And I know homeboy is smart enough to know that he needs to make sure that he looks out for his family's well-being and his own well-being in the industry. This industry is cutthroat. Whether you know it or not, it's cutthroat. And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do in order to save your own ass. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So please stop taking it out on Mark. Stop the memes. Stop the bullshit that you say towards this guy. Mark is just a guitar player who is passionate about guitars and obviously thought that this job with Gibson was going to be a great opportunity to take. And so he took the opportunity. And it just so happens that right now, given this one thing that he did, a video goes up, causes a fervor, and gets taken down within a few days. Now all of a sudden it seems like everybody's ready to crucify him. Just don't do it. It just doesn't do anybody in this industry any favors, and it certainly doesn't do him any favors. You know, I can only imagine what the last week has been like at his job, wondering maybe like, oh God, what is going to happen today when I go into the office? So please, before you think about saying anything about Mark, think. That's all I ask. Just please think. Now, on top of all that, we see this. Gibson is suing Dean Guitars over alleged trademark infringement, as well as the fact that, Dean has filed countersuit. So this certainly does not come across as a great week for Gibson. This does not come across as the best publicity. As you can see, let's go to the original story. Gibson Brands has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the parent company of Dean Guitars and Luna Guitars in a Texas court. The guitar giant is alleging trademark infringement, trademark counterfeiting, unfair competition, and trademark dilution on part of the Florida-based Armadillo Distribution Enterprises. Now, one of the things that I do want to bring up about this lawsuit, as we, start to get into this, is that reports have come out that this lawsuit was in the works before James Curley joined Gibson as its new CEO. This was apparently in works in their legal department while former CEO Henry J was still in power. And we, as guitar players and as members of the community, kind of know that it seemed like under his leadership, that was a big, heavy thing, was this idea of protecting their intellectual property, is the phrase that seems to be thrown around a lot these days. And this just seems like a bad move, because obviously there it is. Gibson sues Dean Guitars over alleged trademark infringement, and there, right there, underneath the headline, is a picture of the current CEO, James Curley, who very overwhelmingly has received, positive reviews from his appearance at NAMM, glowing praise for what he had been trying to implement in the early days of his regime. And now it seems that, the executive leadership has decided to pursue some legal action against another guitar maker for infringing on its trademarks. Now, one of the things they point to, obviously, is headstock shape, comparing the Dean headstock on the left to the Gibson headstock on the right. The thing that I really want to bring up next is something a little bit different and a little bit kind of educational for you guys, and that's this. So these are the definitions of trademark and copyright. And the reason I have these up is because all day today, everybody's sharing it everywhere. And I see these two terms used interchangeably. I see people talking about copyright, and I see people talking about trademark. They're basically the same kind of thing, but they are very, very different. And so these are the definitions. A trademark is a recognizable sign, design, or expression which identifies products or services of a particular source from those of others. Now, when it comes to guitars, what could those things possibly be? The most common are headstocks. These are supposed to be unique designs or expressions or signs of the brand. You can definitely identify a Gibson by the sort of open book headstock shape. This is a headstock shape made by my friend Jose Ramos for his brand Ramos Guitars. That goes onto most every single one of his custom instruments of this particular body style. In many the same way, we've come to identify Chapman guitars as sort of having this reverse Telecaster-ish style headstock. It's sort of become their calling card, and it's one of their unique identifying traits. So how does that compare to a copyright? A copyright is a form of intellectual property that grants the creator of an original creative work an exclusive legal right to determine whether and under what conditions this original work may be copied and used by others, usually for a limited term of years. So what can be copywritten? What can be copywritten in terms of guitars is not a circuit design or a guitar design, but a picture or a drawing of a circuit layout can be copywritten or trademarked. I believe it's copywritten. But the most common things that can be copywritten are things like songs. You can file with the United States Copyright Office to copyright your songs. I've done it many times. It's one of the stupidest processes in the entire world. It takes 6 months to finish the filing for a copyright for one song, but it can be done. Books can be copywritten. Films can be copywritten. They are forms of intellectual property that I, as the creator, can decide whether or not someone can reproduce it. It is my original work. It is my intellectual property, and I have the claim to it. Now, what can I trademark? What I can trademark is this little thing right down here in the bottom left corner of your screen. That's the logo that I've been using on this channel for the better part of 3 years now. The fact that my YouTube channel is Sean Pierce Johnson, one word. I can trademark that. That can be something that I use to uniquely identify myself within the marketplace. So I wanted to do that, and I wanted to bring those definitions to your attention because I think it's important to understand that there are distinct differences. So when you guys go on forums and you're in Facebook groups and things like that, and you start arguing about this stuff, you have a better idea of what you're really talking about. I want to emphasize, though, something different now, because we keep talking about Gibson. Let's not act like Gibson is the only one who has tried and failed to get trademarks for their designs. Fender, within the last 10 years, tried to register trademarks for guitar body shapes, which they were found to not be able to do. I believe they tried to trademark the Stratocaster and the Telecaster and the jazz bass shape, which courts deemed that they could not do. Because already within the marketplace, there are so many Strat, Tele, jazz bass copies, it's just become part of the popular parlance. It's become part of the lexicon of sorts. Much in the same way that now Kleenex, Xerox, Vaseline, things like that, they start to become, sort of these generally accepted terms, generally accepted phrases that instantly make you think of something. When you think of a Kleenex, what do you think of? You think of the thing that you blow your nose with. When you think of Vaseline, you think of the stuff in the blue tub that you put on your finger and rub over whatever. When you think of Xerox, you think of a photocopy machine. You think of the fact that you have a photocopy. Even though photocopy is really the generic term, Xerox has kind of become the thing. So, with all of this said, something's happening with my microphone. I hope not. So with all of this said, what is the real point of this? I want to kind of talk to you guys about how the way that I see this whole thing that has happened with Gibson over the course of the last couple days as a Gibson fan, as a Gibson owner, as a Gibson player, and somebody who is involved with the company on a third-party basis. I think it's no secret to you guys out there that I'm a fan of Gibson. The fact that I have used a Les Paul of some sort in almost every demo that I've ever done on this channel, that should mean something. I love Gibson guitars. I have always loved their guitars. Those were the guitars that got me into playing guitar. This is not a good look. For well-received new models, I feel like when I met him, JC was the right guy to go with. Seemed like he was ready, he was passionate, and he was willing to look at everything. But I would implore Gibson at this point to reconsider what they're doing. I would implore them to, instead of worrying about protecting their intellectual property, instead give us what we want, I've always wanted from you. We just want to see Gibson making great guitars. I can attest right now that the Gibsons that I have are fantastic. The Epiphones I have are fantastic instruments. But I just want to see you guys make guitars. There are small builders out there who are making copies, in quotes. But they're doing things in a different way that they are not the same as what Gibson is doing. They are making instruments that are maybe just tailored ever so slightly for the modern player. Maybe you're not providing a certain specification of a vintage instrument that they are trying to perfect without costing too much money, because cost is another thing entirely. When it comes to Chinese-made instruments, you have all the right in the world to, police that. You have all the right in the world to make sure that when people are making 100% copies, replicas, using your trademarks, using your logos, using your model names and numbers, and even serial numbering the instruments the exact same way that you would serial number the instruments if they were made in the USA factories today, and maybe even serial numbering the instruments in the way that you may have done in previous years. You absolutely have the right to police that and to make sure that those guitars that are of subpar quality do not get into the marketplace and affect your brand. That's a right that anyone with a trademarkable thing has. You have the right to make sure that your intellectual property is protected and that it's not going to sully your brand name. It's not going to ruin your reputation. But this is one of those things from a PR standpoint. It could have been done a whole heck of a lot better. I did not write the script that was read from. I did not write the words, but I would say that, if anything, the most important thing that should come from a play authentic campaign is this. If you're going to play a Gibson, because we make the best Gibsons out there today. Don't believe us? Come and pick one up for yourself, and you'll be amazed to see what we've done to become the Gibson of today. Don't try to bash the small builders, because if you ask me, the small builders are doing the things that push the big companies to be better than they were the day before. I personally do not want to see a bully in the industry. We don't need any of those. And I don't take you guys for being that. I certainly didn't feel that way when I was in the room at NAMM. Everybody was very welcoming. Everybody was very nice about having me there and was very genuinely excited about what the future was for the company. And for the 2 steps forward that may have been taken, this just feels like one giant step back. You guys don't need to worry about being anything other than a better Gibson than was existing at this time last year. And that, the timing of this whole thing feels so weird, because as of, Summer NAMM last year, we weren't really sure what was going to happen with Gibson. Rumors were flying as to what the future of the company was. Now we have a future for the company, and now we see where things are moving forward. We just want to see that move forward. I will always be there to be alongside Gibson in their growth, because I'm a fan. I am a fan of these guitars, and I want to see the company do great, and they have been doing great. The positive publicity that came out of NAMM, the positivity that came from their new model releases. These new Gibsons look fantastic. The new Epiphones look great. The new Kramers look fantastic. That's what I want to see more of. I don't want to see any more of what I saw of Gibson 2-3 years ago. I don't want to see so many rampant lawsuits. I don't want to see this idea of trying to stop things that have already been around for years. It seems like with this lawsuit with Dean, they're going after the fact that they make a V, they make an Explorer, they make a single cut. They've been doing that for decades. So at this point, it's better to just cut your loss at that and just make the best V, Explorer, and Les Paul that you can possibly do. I don't think that's a problem. That's all I want to see. I just want to see Gibson making great guitars. When it comes to Gibsons, yeah, absolutely. Tell them to stop. get him to stop. Do everything you can to get him to stop. But at the same time, a PRS single cut is not a Les Paul. A Nags single cut is not a Les Paul. A Dean, I believe they call it the Bolero, is not a single cut. That's my personal feelings on it. I love Gibson. I still love Gibson. That's not going to change. I have my Gibsons and my Epiphones. We will be having a demo of that Bjorn Galat Les Paul Custom in a couple weeks, and I'm very excited about it because it is a fantastic guitar. But change doesn't just come from making new instruments and improving the quality. Change also comes from what it means to be a citizen within the greater industry. And this is just not a good look. And I'm willing to admit that as a Gibson fan. This is not a good look. So I apologize to any of my friends at Gibson who may take this the wrong way. And I really hope that you're not, because I love you guys. I love your instruments, and I love the fact that you guys brought me into the fold. I love that you guys treated me like I was part of the family. And I love that that the people that I work with intimately, especially Aljon, I love the support. The fact that he's supported a punk kid in his pursuit of being a part of something for so many years has just meant the world to me. And to be involved officially now in some capacity feels amazing. But I want to see a personality change from the company. I don't want to see any more of this. I want to see us all like build each other up rather than cut each other down. I know Ben and I often talk about this when it comes to, YouTube channels, because Ben, if you haven't seen his channel already, Ben is working very hard to create a community with his YouTube channel. He does a lot of great live streams and interviews, and he's doing the best he can with what he has to create something great. And I got to support the hell out of that because it's great. He's got a perspective that I don't have, and I have a perspective that he doesn't have. And it's because of that we've fostered this friendship, and we've fostered a relationship where we want to build each other up. We want to work towards the mutual benefit of each other. And that's a big thing for me. And right now, that's all I'm going to ask Gibson to do. Don't cut people down. Build people up. And that's all I'm going to say. I feel like if I say much more, I'm just going to be rambling. And I'm very passionate about the way I feel about Gibson because of this. The fact that I love them so much. But I also feel passionately about it because, especially when it's come to the things that have been said about Mark and the jokes that have been made about Mark and the, everything. It's so silly. The guy is just doing the best job that he can possibly do. And as I said, he may not have 100% agreed with the words that he had to say. Don't give the guy such a hard time about it. He's probably having a hard enough time without you giving him shit for it. Anyway, let's go back to the let's go back to the chat and see where everybody is since I was on my little ramble there for a little while. All right, shared the Patreon link. Oh, Janice joined us for a bit. Hello, Janice. How are you, my friend? We got Gussie Wells in the house. I'm acknowledging you now, Gussie. Thanks for joining in again. Jay Steen. I heard Gibson is buying Dean. That's why they are creating controversy. They want them to be super relevant again. Wink, wink. That's an interesting point. That's an interesting conspiracy that you bring up. Because, yeah, Dean has... It's funny because after Dime died, Dean was like so super relevant, and it seemed like they were signing anybody and everybody to an endorsement deal, giving any asshole, their own signature model. And I just remember around that time playing those guitars and feeling very underimpressed by them. I didn't feel like they were worth anything, personally. And Aaron basically sums it up right here with his comment. It was real awkward and unnecessary. Just win the battle of similar shapes through making the best. The end. Exactly. Just like that. There you go. Glenn Brand. This is a new name I've not seen. How are you doing, my friend? I hope you're still watching with us. Thank you so much for joining in. It means a lot. All right. Let's keep going. All right, Jay Steen. Everyone says this lawsuit makes no sense and they will lose, so they must have some weird reason for doing this. So this goes back to his little conspiracy about suing Dean. So, I mean, you never know. Just whatever. Brian, during NAMM, JC was everywhere like he was going to be around and listening to customers. Then he disappeared. I think that just, Brian, I think a lot of that just comes down to the fact that he was brand new, when you bring new leadership into a company, and especially if it's from an industry that isn't like what their new position is, you want people to have confidence in your new regime and your new leadership. It should also be noted the fact that that was NAMM. And I've noticed personally over my years of covering the NAMM show and talking about gear that comes out during, before, during, and slightly after NAMM, that momentum tends to last about a month to a month and a half. So during that period from, I would say, mid-January to mid-March, that's when you make your PR blitz, and that's when you want all the people coming in, and you want them getting to know you and getting to understand where you are going to take the company and what kind of direction you're going to go in. And I think that's why we saw a lot of JC at the NAMM show, going around the NAMM show, talking to dealers, talking to artists, talking to, industry insiders, is because he was brand new, wanted to get a feel for this new industry that he was a part of. But then these other appearances that he made, I know my buddy Andy, the Guitar Geek, did an interview with him for the Toman YouTube channel. That's the same kind of thing. I believe he did an interview with Andertons, Toman. I think Musician's Friend or Sweetwater had one. That kind of publicity, that's the time to do it, because you're already in the news anyway. So you want to keep that PR train rolling. Once that publicity dies down, once that momentum starts to die off, that's when you kind of retreat a little bit, take stock of what work that you've done, and then when the next blitz happens and the next logical point starts to happen, that's when you do the next little bit of legwork. And the way that I saw it is when the new product lines came out, that's where Mark's job really started coming in, because that's when we saw the videos of the new models and the new collections coming out slowly. And he was the face of those, and rightfully so, because at the end of the day, JC's an executive, and executives have a very different kind of job within their respective companies. They're not supposed to be the faces. They're just supposed to be the figurehead. And the figurehead kind of turns the head. The figurehead's like the neck of the company, turning the head this way and that way, and turning the eyes this way and that way, and deciding on what the overall vision is going to be. But you still have people who need to be like the arms and the hands and the legs and the fingers and the toes, and being able to enact these plans. So I feel like that's what we saw with JC, with all these appearances and then dialing it back a little bit. All knobs at noon and a little bit of reverb. Great one, pal. Yep, that was the classic guitar of the day. All knobs at noon, a little bit of reverb. Ben, funny, I never saw him at NAMM. It was in the Gibson room all the time. I can personally vouch, Ben, that I did see him at NAMM quite a bit. Terry's GG&G says Ignacy was more like Andre Agassi in that video, which probably, And Aaron, again, exactly what I thought. He works for Gibson. He's paid well. He says what they say. End of story. I'd do it too. Precisely. And Aaron, the thing too is you also have a shared experience with him in that you got 2 kids that depend on you. And, from our conversations, I know you're not going to sacrifice their well-being just because you don't want to say something that could possibly be publicly construed as, bullshit or being a bully or an asshole. If you have a job to do, you're going to do that job because you care about your kids. You care about your family. And I can't hate on anybody for that. And the fact that people have been is kind of low. And I'm not going to lie. There's a few people out there that I'm not going to be speaking to for a while because of all the stuff that they have been saying. Justine went back and rewatched the video. It was definitely different. Yep, it is different going back and watching it after all this has gone down. I only saw it once, and I don't need to see it again because even watching it, it definitely felt a little strange. I even joked to a colleague of mine that maybe Gibson should have hired me to write the script, just because I think there is a way that you could have said you could have made the same point that you were trying to make, but you could have done it in a bit more of a friendly manner, I suppose I could say. It could definitely have been done better and not seemed less it could have seemed less confrontational. Yes, Jay, great point there, Sean, on saying he is only doing what he needs to do. He was told to say that stuff for sure. Exactly. Again, we all have jobs. We all have to do things we don't necessarily like to do. And again, Aaron with this comment. Yeah, just unpacking in Tennessee. Let me undo all this real quick. Nope. Exactly. I guess Aaron and I are more alike than I realized. Ben's got a good comment. Mark's in a very tough spot, as you say, being the face of the company. Anyone with a brain should know it was a script from corporate. Exactly. Everyone's targeting him because they only seen him as the face of Gibson lately, and that's exactly true. Here's another great comment that Aaron is making. Mark Ignacy is the smartest hire they've made to date. This is merely poor decision-making on a higher level. I mean, one model just had a 40-year anniversary, so not necessary. Well, there you go. Mark was a great hire. It was absolutely a great hire for them. He's well known in the gear industry, especially if you're a vintage instrument fan. Norm's Rare Guitars has a great reputation amongst musicians and people within the music industry. He was a good hire. He's got a great personality on camera, and that's what Gibson needed. They needed a good public face, and he was a good hire for them. So, we'll see. Did you guys see how the Schecter headstock fit exactly in the Gibson headstock? Crazy. I did see that today, and I've seen that picture float around quite a bit over the years, and I always find it fun because it's very cool. And as a matter of fact, another thing that I've seen is that someone sells like a little tiny headstock topper that you can put on top of the Epiphone headstock, and it gives the headstock the classic open book shape. So I think that's funny, and a good little I don't want to call it a troll on Schecter's part, but it's definitely a cool little thing going on. The fact that they're kind of mirror images of each other. Yeah, oh, Terry's right. I don't know. Jose might get sued by Gibson. So similar, right? Gussie is saying that Heritage guitars use the older Gibson headstock shape. I It's been years since I've seen a heritage guitar. Let me, I'm actually going to look that up right now. Because I don't remember 100% what Heritage's headstock looked like. Okay, here we go. Man, these guitars are surprisingly expensive. Okay. Let's see if I, there we go. So this is the old headstock, huh? Or at least according to Gussie, that they use the old headstock shape. But I don't ever recall seeing this headstock on a Gibson before. That's just me, personally. But, you know, whatever. I think it's still cool. You know, it definitely is different and it's their own thing. Brian actually has a good comment that I'd like to share with you guys. Gibson should pick their battles a little better. The timing of all of this was so wrong. Even if they win the suit, they lose the image they were trying to cultivate. And that's a very, very reasonable observation to make. You know, with the momentum coming out of NAMM, with everything, it seemed so good. The new models have been generally well received. And now this happens ahead of Summer NAMM. It's poor timing, and I really don't like the fact that this has happened, you know, right now. So, oh well. You know, Jay, I haven't spoken to Aljon about that, and even if I did speak to him about it, I'd keep that private between us, because I owe that to him. I owe him confidence, and I owe him his private thoughts. So I wouldn't be sharing that with you guys unless he probably wouldn't be sharing that with me anyway. And it doesn't make any difference to me however he feels about it. You know, he's a friend. The fact that he just supports me is what I care about, and that means the most to me. So I'll keep doing great work for, you know, Gibson and Epiphone and Kramer especially because of him. Jay actually has an interesting question. So should people keep buying Gibson now or wait till this blows over and have their money ready? Or does this not matter at all as far as quality and product? Jay, personally, Gibson is never going to be a brand that's a bad investment. It's just, like a Fender, it's the name that everybody thinks about when it comes to what really is commanding that dollar value. So buying a Gibson is never a bad investment, at least as from my perspective, at least. Of course, you're going to have some years that are less desirable than others, but at the end of the day, it's still going to appreciate, and it's still going to be generally considered to be at least a good guitar. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And Aaron Albus Band even says the same kind of thing. In 2019, the products are great, so buying their guitars is still smart, but their attitudes and actions are disappointing. And that's the thing that's going to affect immediately. Once this thing kind of blows over, and seeing if this lawsuit really goes anywhere and whether or not public backlash is going to cause them to retract the lawsuit is going to be another thing entirely. So we'll just see. Okay, some of the chat got kind of all rah. Yeah. Sean Zimmerman in the house. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining in. Yes, Terry, it is a big cup. It's my big old solo cup. It's iced tea. It was half full. All right. Let's see some of this other stuff. Watch Tone talk when David Friedman has his direct competition on the show. They are friends. Exactly. Pedals and amps, everybody is generally friends. Guitars, not so much. So I don't really know. Yeah, Sean Zimmerman brings up a good point. What about Washburn, ESP, Schecter? They all do the same. And it's funny, to me, when I think of guitar companies that do almost the same thing, ESP and Schecter are 100% in that same sentence because they're owned by the same guy. And they have different they have different emphasis on their catalog. ESP being much more in the metal and hard rock territory, and Schecter sort of leaning into other genres, and also just making some really great kind of like parts caster kind of builds, because that's really what Schecter started out as, was a parts company. But their stuff definitely feels of the same ilk. I'd say the thing that feels less like the rest of it is the Nick Johnston signature Schecter, which I would love to have one of those again. Jay's commenting about a video Andy, the guitar geek, did. His video saying Ryan Burke stole his Helix pedal board idea was funny. He was chasing him around Toman, and then Ryan had an in-depth explanation why he didn't steal Andy's idea. It was really funny. Brian says this: I guess we're getting spoiled by all the pedal companies that are where the owners are on YouTube and forums. Robert Keeley, Brian Wampler, Dave Friedman, Paul Reed Smith, etc. Is Paul on forums? Forums don't seem like Paul's style, personally. That's at least how at least what I would think. Glistening Cabana in the house. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining in, and thanks for joining the stream and your comment. I really appreciate that. Gussie's got a heritage himself, very similar to the original design. I'll have to take a look in that. I'm seeing a lot of love for Lawrence Petros designs. Still haven't played any of his stuff, but I would love to hear more. Terry's asking, is that from the Solo Star Wars movie? Yes, it is from the Solo Star Wars movie. It's kind of like my go-to summer drink cup now, because it's huge, basically. It gets hot here in Southern California, so you want to be sure that you can stay hydrated all the way through the day. And for me, that usually means like 3 of those. All right, let's see. What else we got going on here? That's interesting. Gussie, I guess, has some intimate knowledge of heritage guitars. Apparently, when they introduced CNC machines and more modern equipment, many experienced luthiers left in protest. That's interesting. Really walking out and stepping up on the because of a downshift in what they assume would be the quality. That's funny. Henry Winkler is suing JC and Mark for wearing leather jackets trying to copy Fonzie. Oh boy. There's rumors in Canada the sun does exist. I can attest to you, living in Southern California, the sun definitely does exist. All right. Yep. It looks like I've gotten through all your comments. All right. Let's, you know what? To close out the night and to end on a high note, let's listen to a little bit of the Fuzzy Head. Gonna grab number 1. And let's hear this thing. So this is the ENGL Fuzzy Head. And all knobs at noon. Wow. Wow, that sounds nice. Pay no mind to me not looking at the camera. I'm watching your comments roll by as I shred. Let's turn up the gain a little bit. How about that? Ooh. Wow, that's pretty good. And we started out with just that. Maybe a little chorus. Hello, Wilmar. I hope that's how you pronounce the name, or Vilmar? Bubba Brown, thank you so much for joining for a little bit, my friend. Feel free to catch the replay. I appreciate any views that these live shows get. And Vilmar, the pedal is most of the verb and modulation. That's all the Nux Cerberus. And the echo too. That all comes from the Nux Cerberus. And the fuzz is the new ENGL Fuzzy Head fuzz, which I just got. So this is like the first time that we're really playing it. Let's see how this fuzz stacks into sort of a mild drive. obviously not the best gain staging in the world, but it still sounds pretty dang good. Brian wants it to be mentioned that David Gilmour's Black Strat sold for $3.97 million. So there you go. It was mentioned. Do you feel better? Hey, we got Guitar Hack in the house. Hello, my friend. Nice to have you join the late show. Wow, that sounds really good. Bubba Brown has a question. I was wondering, is there a big difference between fuzz face pedals? What do you guys prefer, silicone or germanium? Never tried one, but want to purchase one. I have a couple muffs, but no fuzz face. Yeah, Bubba, there's a quite a bit of difference between the two fuzzes, if you ask me. I personally prefer germanium just because I find that germanium fuzz faces have a bit more of a woolly gain structure to them, and to me, they clean up a little bit better. I would say that silicone tends to be a little bit more on the abrasive side, has a little bit more of a cleaner tone. It's not as it's not as like full, I would say. The gain structure is just a little bit raspier. They all have their place, but for me, I generally prefer germanium. But I generally prefer germanium, but I love them all. As a matter of fact, with all knobs at nude, this one doesn't really clean up. Aw, thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. As if there weren't enough fuzz demos on the channel recently, this Saturday will be the Keeley Fuzzbender. We got this new ENGL fuzz that we're going to need to demo. We also have the B-Tronic Swarm that I still need to make a demo of. What else is going to happen? Who knows? Anything can happen. but I'm trying not to like overwork myself on demos this summer. Yeah, Hack, it's a Les Paul. And is that a squirrel like Doug from Up calls for a squirrel? Wow, a Moen $32 pedal is still holding on. That's good, Brian. You know, it's funny. Cheap fuzz pedals tend to be pretty damn good, I've noticed. Man, I don't even know what to do. Well, my friends, we're at the hour 25-minute mark. I think it's time to call it a night. I want to thank you all for joining me again for this week's SPJ Live. It has been so much fun hanging out with you guys. Thank you to all of you who tuned in throughout, especially to those of you who have been hanging around since the first minute. Big thanks to my mods, Aaron and Ben, for always doing the blue wrench duties here on the channel. It means a lot that they come here every week and do this while I talk about God knows what. I hope you guys enjoyed the little talk about everything going on in the world of gear, and especially to do with Gibson right now. I would just ask that as you guys start to see this news unfold, please do give Mark a break. He does not deserve half the crap that he's getting. And I would also just ask that you guys wait and see how things are going to go. You just never know. Things can change, and they will change. If you haven't done so already, please do click the subscribe button and turn on some notifications. And also do please check out the Patreon page, which you can find at patreon.com/Sean Pierce Johnson. If you were a patron today, you would have seen a early access to that Fuzz Bender demo, which will be coming this Saturday on Stompbox Saturday. Until then, everybody, thank you all so much for joining. I would go down the list, but my throat is kind of raw right now and starting to go. Until next time, my friends, same bat time, same bat channel. I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you guys all great tone and happy stomping. Have a good night, my friends. Cheers.